Um, okay. Yeah, so wait a minute. First of all, thank you very much for coming to today's class. Today is our 10th Tocharian class and also the first class in June. Probably before we start, this is actually a new month, so I want to just to explain very briefly our plan in the future. Actually, according to my plan, we have classes. Wait a minute, I need to close the windows. A little bit noisy outside. Okay, so this is actually my schedule for June, for July, and also for August. Actually, according to my plan, we will. So actually, you can ignore this Monday because Monday is for Tocharian classes in Munich, so it's taught in German. But for Saturday and for Tuesday, these are our regular classes. So actually, according to my plan, I will. Tuesday today is actually reserved for Tocharian and Latin. So you can see that Tuesday is usually Tocharian and Latin. And Saturday is actually for Sanskrit and Greek. And this is also the case in July. Saturday is for Sanskrit and Greek, and Tuesday is for Tocharian and Latin. This is also the case. And this month, I will use last day, the 30th of June, for the first Germanic class. And for the next month, I will use the last Tuesday for the first Hittite class. And for August, this is a plan for August, I will use one meeting for the second Slavic class. And then something important. This is actually what I have mentioned to you. Oh, sorry. In September, we have a feast course, and feast course is full-time intensive whatever. So it's actually a summer class, a summer course in Fudan University in Shanghai. My supervisor, Professor Ola Parkstein, and Professor Liu Zhen in Fudan, and we three will offer a feast class in September, and it will last about 2 weeks. It's from September 14 to 25th, so about 2 weeks, and we will offer the detailed plan schedule. I will. I need to talk. I need to discuss with my supervisor. But basically, it's an introductory Indo-European linguistic course based on the Tocharian and the Germanic materials. So this is basically the idea. Okay, to kind of since you already know, I assume that you already know the basics, and some of you already know a lot about Indo-European Linguistics, and also Tocharian, Sanskrit, and so on. So this fifth class might be kind of also beneficial for you. Okay, so this is actually the plan for until September. Okay, so as I mentioned, today is our 10th Tocharian class. And as I explained earlier, and today is actually basically for grammar. We won't read a lot of texts, but we will check some examples, verbs. Okay. Yeah, okay. So this is, I mean, this is a Tocharian class, but also beneficial for those who study Sanskrit. So actually, we probably start from the Sanskrit, because some of you have just had the class by Mr. Zhao last Sunday. So this is the grammar. It's I just used the grammar by Meyerhofer because he used transcription and not Devanagari, probably a little more friendly. Although the language is German, but I will explain everything, so don't worry. So inside the Sanskrit grammar, I write it here. Wait a minute. So I make it a little bit. So we start with grammar. So first, the Sanskrit verbs. So today we talk about verbs. Yeah. But we will come back to the nouns. In our later meetings, because if you read texts, you probably encounter not only verbs, but not only nouns, but also verbs. So actually, they occur together. So I think it's probably better to combine nouns and verbs together to explain them kind of one. To mix the explanation of nouns and verbs. Okay, so this is so we start from the Sanskrit verbs, which is pretty clear. Has a very how to say that? It's well structured and also summarized. Okay. So basically, in the Sanskrit verbs, we have two classes. First, the thematic, right? And then the athematic. Okay, athematic. And I already explained what's the meaning of thematic and athematic. It comes from the Greek verb, a Greek word for a Greek verb thema, and thema means to put something inside. Okay, so it's something. It describes that between the how do you say that? Between the root, the verbal root, and also the ending, there's something. Yeah. So this is thematic, and it refers to the thematic power. Okay, thematic powers. Yeah. So sometimes so this is actually how do you say that? There are different ways to translate thematic in Chinese. I mean, Chinese is something you can translate literally, which will probably make little sense. You can translate as 主题动词, theme, like verbs with themes. But themes is kind of how to say that? Yeah, make little sense. Yeah, but there's also another how to say that? A meaningful way to translate it, like you have inserted vowel, as someone has already put in our chat, group chat. Yeah, so it's actually basic two different ways. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, you can use either. Well, yeah, you can use both. It's okay. Yeah. Okay. So there are basic two groups: semantic and athematic. And the semantic, the first one is most. How to say that? Not really most, but very very productive. So the first the, the first class. Yeah. The first class, and in the grammar, it's a very how to say that? It's a very beloved, popular example, and this is a verb called tragen, yeah, or carry. Yeah, if you prefer English. Yeah. So it means to carry. Okay, and then you have the fourth class, and the fourth class, it's wait a minute. So the first class, the fourth class, so first class is with AR, and fourth class is a ya. This is actually the kennzeichen. This is actually the characteristics, the kennzeichen. Yeah, this is actually the how do you say that? Okay, the marker. Yeah, the most important feature, the most important feature of this class. The fourth class is with a ya. You have it here. And sixth class, let's move on. The sixth class is a semantic vowel, a. Take a look. Mm. So again, it is the a, right? And then we move on to the tenth class. Tenth class. It's actually aya, right? Mm. Okay. And then we move on to the athematic. Yeah. So athematic, we have more classes. Like the first class, the first one is the second class. Yeah. So I probably make it. Yeah, and the second class, I think it's you can just like this, just a root. Yeah. So it's also called root present. Yeah. So it's just a root. Yeah. And then the third class. So the example is asti. So this is probably the most familiar or most important word. Yeah. And then wait a minute. And then the third, wait a minute. This is a third class. The third class has a feature of reduplication. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is the third class. Yeah. Okay. And then let's move on to take a look. This is the fifth class. Yeah. The fifth class is marked by the infix of no and nu, right? So it has an infix, no and nu. Yeah. So this is infix, right? Yeah. Okay. And then the seventh. So the seventh is also an infix, The infix is na and n, right? So this is also an infix, right? Okay, and then let's move on to the nice, yeah, or acht. Oh, sorry, the eighth. So the eighth class is marked by a u. Das Stammbildungssuffix is o, in den schwache Formen u. So the stem suffix is o in the strong forms, but in the weak forms it is a u. So it is actually o and u. Okay, and yeah, okay, this is yeah. And then we come to the last one. The last one is the nice class. So the nice class, you see, in starken Stamm, in the strong form, it's na, and in schwachen, in the weak, it's ni, right? Okay, so this, how do you say that? It looks like this is also how do you put it? Yeah. Okay, I just want to I just ignore this the category or infix or affix. Yeah. So this is basically all the classes in Sanskrit, and let's just check the regularities. We just analyze these 10 classes. Okay, so the semantic. Okay, so inside the semantic, and you will notice that first and sixth class have the same this affix, right? So this is the same R and R, but the difference is this one is always, how do you say that? Always with weak zero grade. So I use the Indo-European linguistic terminology because in Sanskrit it will called R without guna, right? Without guna. Without guna, right? But in the linguistic terminology, it's called zero grade. Yeah. Okay. And then this is according to the grammar, usually we scuba, usually with guna, but there are also some other forms like gachati and something like that. Yeah, right. Therefore, it is actually not a very accurate description. We will see. Yeah, we will see it later. Yeah. Okay. So I write the. So I write some examples here. So inside this verb, of course, we have this important verb called bar, and the third singular. Sorry. Is any problem with? Is any problem with the audio?你们听了有什么问题吗？Okay, so I will continue. Okay. I am not sure because probably I didn't change anything. Yeah. Okay, I just continue explaining. So this one, we have the third person singular called bharati. So then it looks like that it always with guna. So I put a plus here. So always with guna. But this one is kind of without guna, right? It looks like without guna, plus guna or minus guna. Yeah. But inside this first class, we also have tíṣṭhati, right? This might look like for the Indian people, for the Indian grammarians, it looks like a guna form, and we will analyze it later. So basically, first class and sixth class, they share the characteristic, they share the feature of A, but the root is different, right? So, so inside this third class, we have a tíṣṭhati, right? So it looks, this is, I just highlight the vowel. Okay, so this is a difference between class 1 and class 6. And then class 4 and class 10, they look different, right? One is, one you have to use ya, and the second one you have to use aya, right? So this is for the semantic. And then let's move on to the asthmatic. So the second class, as I said, is the most, how to say that, the simplest, the einfachste, the simplest class. So this is actually the simplest because it's also called root aorist. So for this class, you just use root plus ending. And if I write it in this way, so this is R, R is for root, and ending is for, E is for ending. So this is actually this class. Do I need to write it? Do I need to write the abbreviation? So this is root, and E is ending. I assume that you all know that. Yeah. Okay, and the S is suffix. Okay, S is suffix. Okay. So we use this abbreviation to analyze this. So the second class is actually R plus E, and it's pretty simple, right? Yeah, R plus E. And for this first class, how can we use this? How can we describe it? So it is also R, it is R plus R, sorry, R plus R plus E, right? So this is actually the first class, R plus R and plus E, right? And then the second, the sixth class also has this form, right? But the difference is this one. This E, you have to use a 0 grade. This is very important. But this one, you have to use a or etc. Something else. Yeah. This is actually a for bar, but for tíṣṭhati it's different. Yeah, but I will explain it later because this is only the Sanskrit grammar, and I will explain the Indo-European background. Yeah, and then this one, you see, it is actually R plus ya plus E, right? So you have a ya here. So this is ya here. And then the tenth class, it's the same, R plus aya and plus E. So this is the tenth class. Yeah, okay. And then let's move on to the third class. So the third class, you have actually the reduplication, right? So this is actually the reduplication. Should I, how to, I don't know how to put the reduplication. So for the reduplication, I just write it like this. So reduplication, plus a root and then plus the ending. So this is is it better to with a space or without? I'm not sure. Probably with it. 我不是，就是大家觉得加不加空格，哪种更好、更舒服一点？就是不加空格吧，就不加空格，看起来更密切一点。Yeah. So this is actually the characteristic, the third class with a reduplication and then plus a R, right? Okay, and then the fifth class. The fifth class is actually R plus no or nu, and then plus a E. This is the logic. This is okay. And then the seventh class is actually R plus na or N, and then plus a E. Yeah. So this is the seventh class. Sorry. And the eighth class is actually O plus U plus a E, right? And the ninth class is na plus ni plus e. Okay. Okay. So it looks a little bit complicated, right? If especially if you read, if you use stenciler, you use a grammar, and there are a lot of forms, a lot of different roots. But now I will tell you the regularities behind this, behind all this. So for the athematic, they are actually you can actually divide them into three groups. So the first one is a simplest. It is a root aorist. So it's pretty simple. It's just to use the root as plus the ending. And make sure you know that these are, or it applies to all these cases that there's upload. So with upload. What does upload mean? I assume that you all know. So upload means that the vowel of the root changes depending on different forms. So the upload for based on upload, we have two groups, namely strong form and weak. So strong and weak forms, right? So strong and weak forms. And usually strong means singular, active. And then weak form, all the others. So this is very important. You have to keep it in mind. So all the others means, of course, plural active, right? So here is singular active, and then you have plural active. You have dual active. But for the simplicity, for the clarity, I just ignore the dual, because dual is not that frequent as singular and plural. So this includes plural active plus all the middle forms, right? So plural active and plus all the middle forms, you have to, this is weak. And then for the upload, I assume that you also know something. For this sound, this is the R. This is just a simple consonant, right? And this is actually the, how to say that, the strong, the strong form means that you have to use E grade. Yeah, you have to So the strong form is always connected with E grade or sometimes also O grade, but basically E grade. You always use this E grade, yeah. But sometimes also O grade, but not that frequent. So I mark it in O. And then for the weak, you usually use the 0. Yeah. Yeah. So for the weak, you usually use a 0. So let's make some practice. But I'm pretty sure that a lot of you are already familiar with the upload, because I already explained in other cases. So let's start with a simple case. U is a 0 grade. So this is actually U is actually 0 grade, right? And the EU is actually the E grade, right? E grade. And the OU is actually the O grade, right? So this is pretty simple, right? Yeah. And then R, or I put a circle under it. Wait a minute. So I put a circle. So this is a syllabic. So this is all vowels, right? U is a vowel. R with a circle under it. So this is also a vowel. So this is 0 grade, right? And then is also right? And or this or so this is, I'm pretty sure that you all know that. And then comes something special. So let's talk about the laryngeal, and this is actually wait a minute. This is 0 grade. This laryngeal alone is a 0 grade, and laryngeal with air, it's E grade, right? And yeah, and laryngeal with O1, so it's called O grade. Yeah, so this is basically what you have to keep in mind. I hope it's not that complicated and difficult to understand, right? So this is the 0 grade, and this is the A grade. So A refers to the vowel, and O refers to the vowel. So this is a logic. Okay, this is logic. Okay. Okay, and then these three are actually how to say that, can represent others. So from this one, and you will how to say that. So from this one, you will know the case for E, right? So E, A, Oi, so you know for E. And then from this one, you know the case for L. L is not that common for M and N, so L, yeah. So this is, you get the similar thing for N, M, L. So I don't write it, so I think you, of course, you will certainly know how to make all the other forms, right? And then H1 is, this is similar to H2 and H3, right? So this is actually, yeah, okay. This is actually the how to say that. This is one example, and based on this, you know other cases. Okay, and then so now let's move on to this case. So for the root present, it is pretty simple. You use the root plus the ending, but there's an upload. So this is, for this case, so for this one, this is with upload. And the upload case, you know, I already put it here. So this is the upload. for the singular active, you have to use A grade. Yeah, usually with A grade. Yeah. Probably I can just for the simplicity, first you just for the time being, you just remember E grade. Strong case you use E grade. So weak forms you use 0 grade. So for the root present, you have this the upload. So I give some examples like asti. This is pretty basic. This is singular, right? So this is sorry, singular third person, right? So this is singular third person. So you have to use R. This is R, right? So this is A grade because originally the PIE root is called this one. Sorry. So now I write PIE, right? Okay. So this is actually the original root called Hase. So this is the original root. In Sanskrit, it's called asti, right? Yeah. And so for this one, it comes actually from the, so you know that this is a E grade, right? So this is E grade. You have an E here, or A grade, you have an A here. So then it actually, this is original form. And in Sanskrit, or the first laryngeal disappears. And the first laryngeal does not affect the color. I mean, color, this is, how do you say that? Well, the first laryngeal will not change the vowel A, but the second laryngeal will change A to, R. So this is different. So second laryngeal will change A to R, and the third laryngeal will change A to a O. Okay, sorry, to a O. So this is different, but the first laryngeal does not change it. Okay, and then for other cases, we have, for example, star. This is something, or star. Yeah, star is better. Yeah. So we have star like you are, but you plural. This is plural. This is plural. You are. So it comes from. So you see, this is plural. So we need to use the 0 grade. So plural active, it is 0 grade, right? So the 0 grade of this one, you just delete the A. So for 0 grade, you delete it. So you get this one, and then you put the ending sa. I mean, originally it's not sa, but I just because I'm not explaining the ending here, but I just explain the root, yeah, or the form. Okay, this change only happens when the laryngeal. No, it's also in other cases. So not only initially, but also in just but also how to, not only initially, yeah, not only initially. Should I put it like near laryngeal? So this is near. So if a vowel stays close to a laryngeal, it will affect. It will if change its color. It will change the color. So actually, the color means the color of the vowel, right? I'm not sure if it is really called like this in English, but in Chinese, we do say it will change the color of the vowel. Quality, yeah, you could use quality, right? Yeah, it's not 音值. No, it's 音色. It's probably 音色. Like in Chinese, it's probably sorry. Probably 音色, yeah. But I'm not really sure what's the difference between air and or. I mean, scientifically, air and or can be characterized by 3 different formants. How to say that, formants? But this is not the topic now. Yeah, you just memorize it. Yeah, okay. So you just memorize it. The laryngeal will change the vowels near it. So laryngeal will change the vowels. Laryngeal 2 and 3 will change the vowel color. Yeah. Okay, so this is the logic for the root present. For the plural, so for the plural, you use the 0 grade. Sorry, this is 0 grade, right? This is 0 grade. So this is 0 grade because it is plural, and 0 grade you just delete the air, right? And this is the A grade. You use A grade because it is singular. Yeah, so it is singular. And you use A grade because, yeah, A grade. You use A grade because it is singular. And you use 0 grade. You use 0 grade because it is plural. So just this simple, yeah. And then the different endings, you don't need to memorize them. There are a lot of endings here. So you just use the chart here. So this is the ending. Yeah, ending is pretty fixed. The complicated thing is actually the everything before the ending. So ending is pretty fixed. You don't need to memorize the ending. It's probably too much or too many. So ending, for the endings, you just use this table. But for everything else before the ending, you need to know the logic. Okay, so this is the root present. It's pretty simple. And probably you can use another word called devesh, right? Called devesh plus devish, sorry, devish, and plus this sound. So you can use always like this. So this is actually a, but pay attention. This a in Sanskrit, I read it here. Sanskrit a does not equal PIE a. So they are quite different. So they are 2 different things. Sanskrit a comes from PIE. So for this, for the time being, you can just memorize this one for this case. But there are also other cases, but you don't need to. There are also other there are also other cases, but for the time being, you just know that Sanskrit air comes from PIEA. Yeah, and this is the reason why this is 0. This is A grade. So this is, so I put an A here. This is PIE, not Sanskrit air. Pay attention. This air is Indo-European, Proto-Indo-European air, not Sanskrit air. But this is Sanskrit air. Okay, I hope it's not that complicated. You can get it, right? So Sanskrit air. So this is important. You have to keep it in mind. Sanskrit air goes back to Indo-European A. Okay, yeah, okay. And then this is the reason, and Sanskrit E is Sanskrit E is indeed Indo-European E. Yeah. So this is actually correct. Yeah, this is correct. Yeah, Sanskrit E is Indo-European E. Okay, so this is a, and then you know this is actually the 0 grade, because if this is the A grade, how can you get a 0 grade? This is the A grade. How can you get a 0 grade? You just delete this A, right? Delete this A and you get an E, right? So this is this one. 因为我用中文讲一遍嘛，可能会有点绕或者有点复杂。就是说有一个非常重要的语音对应关系，就是你在梵语当中如果看到一个 A， 千万不要理所当然的认为它和我刚才说的这个 A 是一回事，不是一样的。因为我们想象一下，在梵语当中，我们一开始学语音的时候，学那个 soundy 的时候，我们学到一个规则，就是 so in the probably the introductory the first classes on the soundy, the Sanskrit soundy. So in Sanskrit, if you have R and you have an E, so if you have two vowels coming together, it will become the A, right? So this is Sanskrit. This is Sanskrit soundy. Sanskrit soundy rules, right? Okay, so this is pretty correct. And then use this example, we can explain this one. Because Sanskrit R has multiple origins. 就是梵语的这个 R， 它事实上是有很多种来源的。比如说，它可能原来就是 R。So there are several origins of Sanskrit R. So Sanskrit R can come from Indo-European or AR. So Sanskrit has actually simplified the original vowel system. 就是梵语它事实上把原始印欧语的这个元音体系进行简化了。So yeah, Sanskrit has simplified the original vowel system. So if you have R here, it can have different origins. Yeah， 就是我一直在重复，就是希望大家能够明白这个背后的逻辑。OK， 好吧。OK， 行，那就这样吧。OK， 就是我现在避免 ，actually I avoid using the Panini terminology. It will cause some confusion to you. So of course I know a little bit Panini grammar, but Panini grammar, the explanation used by Panini is quite different from the linguistic point of view. Okay. Yeah, okay. So that's why Panini grammar is so complicated, because there are a lot of so-called exceptions to his rules. So actually the logic of Panini grammar is like he first formulate a rule and then he will to mention exceptions to this rule, and then probably exceptions in several different layers. Yeah, so this is his logic, Panini's logic. Okay, but I will for this for the explanation of verbs, I will refrain myself from using the Panini terminology. Yeah, but that's a different, it does not mean that Panini is wrong, but it's just a different perspective of explaining Sanskrit. Okay, I introduced Indo-European linguistic viewpoint. Okay, so this is for the second, for the root aorist. It is actually the simplest, but the others are not that complicated if you know the logic. So let's take an example of this one. So the third class is root duplicated. So there's an example called who. This is a root, right? And then the reduplication is called 诸和 or 诸户, right? Yeah, 诸户. So this is for singular, right? Singular active, and this is for plural, and nominal, and sorry, middle, and so on. Yeah. Okay. So how can we explain this? The reason for the difference of 这 and 和, how to say that? I'm not sure if I should explain this one. Yeah, I know it's sacrifice. Yeah, I just I want to. So for the time being, you just remember for who, the reduplication is a little bit different. Yeah. Should I use another examples to simplify my explanation? Yeah. It's a little bit complicated, but for the time being, it's not necessary to explain this thing. Let's check other examples if we have other good examples. Wait a minute. Yeah. Okay, this one, tíṣṭhāti. Yeah, this is probably better. Yeah. Okay, so I use this. I use this one. Yeah. So this is the famous Indo-European root. Yeah. So there's a root called dar. Yeah. And for the singular, you have the form here. Yeah, right. So for the singular, you have da, right? And for the plural, you have the, right? The. Yeah. Why do we have this difference? It looks pretty different from our previous cases, right? So it is a and e, but here it's r and nothing, right? So it looks pretty different, right? Okay, so the explanation is like this. Okay, so for this root, it has actually, wait a minute. So this is actually a root with laryngeal, and then this is the original. PIE form. Okay, and then for tíṣṭhāti, as I explained, for this class, you first need a reduplication, right? So you first need a reduplication, and for this case, reduplication usually use the first consonant. The first consonant is actually day, yeah, day. And then you use the root, right? So this is actually the root. This is actually the root. And then we use the ending. So ending is not important here. You have the ending. As I explained, ending is not really important here. And then you see there are two aspiration here. 就是有两个送气音. So two aspiration, I mean, it will make the first one de-aspirated. So the aspiration of the first one is lost. So then we have the dech, right? But here, there's also another problem. As I explained to you earlier, I told you that the strong form usually use the air grade, but for this case, it's a little bit different. It used the or grade. But for the Sanskrit, it makes no difference because Sanskrit a and or, they become the same. They just they were because I explain it extrally. So sound about the sound change in Sanskrit. If you have this, wait a minute. So if you have these two different things in Sanskrit. So it will turns to a long air, right? This is air with lengthening caused by this H1, and H1 does not change the color of the vowel, right? And then so or it will not affect or a laryngeal will not affect it. So it will be a long, or, right? Yeah, and these two or turns to a long A. This both will become a long A. So as I explained, the Sanskrit has simplified the vowel system of the Indo-European language. Okay, but how do we know it is the or? Because of the evidence in Hittite. But this is not a topic today. You can just know, you can just keep it in mind that for this case, it is actually O grade. But for another case, it is the star. The star, it actually is the, it is tíṣṭhāti, right? Tíṣṭhāti, right? Yeah. And this comes from the this comes from the this. So this is actually the O grade. So O grade, but this is actually the E grade because the reduplication syllable, the reduplication vowel is different. Yeah. Okay. But this is a little bit complicated. I actually don't want to make that complicated. But you just keep in mind that sometimes, this strong form can have the O grade. Yeah. Like in this reduplicated class. Okay. Let's turn back to, there are actually some, okay, so let's turn back to this form. So this is actually the strong form, right? Yeah. And then what is the weak form? So the weak form, you still have the reduplication, but here you have to use the zero grade. So zero grade, you just delete. So you just delete the vowel. It has it. And then this one will become a dh, yeah, in, for example, yeah, you have it like this, yeah. So this is actually the, how do you say that? This is actually why we have a long A here. We have a long A here, but there's nothing, because this case usually has a connection with laryngeal. So there's some tips, right? There's actually a tip. In Sanskrit, in Sanskrit, long, how to say, long u, long e, and sometimes the a. If you see the how to say that, okay, I put it a little bit slower. In Sanskrit, if you see a long u or long e, it always has a laryngeal behind the forms. So if you have long e, always with laryngeal, If you have long u, long e, always has the laryngeal. And if you have if you have this r or the e, like if you find in different forms, r interchanges with a long e, it also with laryngeal. Yeah. But only a R is difficult to tell because long A has other origin, like Brookman's law, like this. Okay, so this is third class. I hope it's not that complicated, but if you can't remember or you have problems, probably you can check the video again, or you can ask me, or I will explain it later in our class. So before we, so let's make a short break, and I will explain these forms. Yeah. Okay. So I just stop recording. Wait a minute. I stop recording. Continue. Okay, so let's continue and to check the remaining classes. And before we start, again, I just highlight one thing. So ending is consistent. So this is quite consistent. So it is the most, not most, I mean, ending is consistent. So you don't need to memorize the ending. It's pretty simple. You just need to check the table. If you forget it, it's not that important. Important is this one, the root, the form of the root. The root can has different forms. It can has 0 grade or the E grade and so on. Okay, this is the most important thing in the verbs. Okay, and then the suffix is also not that complicated. Yeah. And now let's turn back to, yeah. So can anyone, so first this is question. The question is 5, 7, 8, 9, and which one is the origin or the original one? If I tell you that these 4 cases, these 4 classes can go back to one single class, and which class? 5, 7, 8, 9. So this is one example, one answer, 7th class, right? Okay, does anyone has other answers? Okay, so 8th class, right? Is any other, okay, 7 or 8, okay. So nobody nobody choose 9, right? Oh, that's 5, okay. So it seems that for all of you, 9 is kind of okay. So 5, there's also a 5, okay. So the answer is actually 7, yeah. So I highlight it, yeah, make it, yeah. So 7th class is actually the most basic one. So it goes back to Proto-Indo-European, this one, yeah. So this is 7th class. 7th class, and goes back to Proto-Indo-European, this one. And I will explain how can you get all these 4 classes just from this single one. From this single one, you can get all the 4 classes. So I do it step by step. So I first use 7th class because I said 7th class is actually the most basic one. So for the 7th class, there's actually a very famous root from, you all know yoga, what yoga means, right? And then we use the example of yoga. So this is actually the most important, no, not most important. This is the most basic, class, 7th class. And the origin is the Proto-Indo-European. So the origin is Proto-Indo-European noun, yeah. So this is kind of an upload, right? So this is also upload. This is, wait a minute. So this is also upload. You know, this is A grade, right? And this is 0 grade, yeah. Okay. And you see this root, you have in Sanskrit ū-nakti. In Sanskrit, you have the root called, wait a minute, so yeah. So in Sanskrit, you have the word called ruch, and then you analyze this ruch like this, and the mechanisms or the mechanism 就是构造的那个机制，就是 the how to say that, the logic, right? Logic is a very easily used, it's a very useful word, yeah. So this is a root called ruch, and we analyze the ruch as this one. And pay attention, this ne is infix. What does infix mean? Infix means that you have to insert it between inside the root. So for the root, and you know that this is A grade, this is the strong form. So for the singular active, you have to use u plus a ne and then a j, right? Sorry, a j. So this is the singular form, and then you put an ending like t, and then you have, wait a minute. So you have u nakti, right? So I told you this is the earlier form, and this is the Sanskrit form. This is the Sanskrit form. So you have u nacht, right? And then a mechanism, 机制或者是 logic, right? Logic is pretty simple. It's and then the j and the t, j is kind of is a stimmhafte. It's a voiced sound, right? So it is assimilated to the k sound, and it lost its palatalization. So you have the u nakti, right? Yeah, and accent is right here. So there's also an important rule, but it is not really important here, that how can we know the position of the accent? There's a very kind of a simplified or important rule. The accent can only fall upon or on, how to say that, the E grade. Only the E grade can have the accent. Yeah. So this is not an E grade, right? U is not an E grade. The E grade is called yog. Yeah. So this is again. So this is 0 grade. 0 grade. And I write it like this. So this is 0 grade. Yeah. Because you have a U. The full grade is called yao, or the yeug, like this. Yeah. Okay. So probably I should write it like this. Yeah. So this is so again, this a little bit complicated. In Sanskrit grammar or in Sanskrit dictionary, it is yuj, but the original form is actually yug. It is actually yug. I should write it here. Yeah. This is actually yug. Yeah. And yug turns to a k. Yeah. But why we have this j? Because j is the palatal product of g. Yeah. So again, which because I also mentioned earlier, the form in the dictionary or in the grammar is actually abstracted from the real used form. 就是我用中文解释一下，就是这个事实上呢，原始的形态呢，应该是一个 g， 就是正常的正常的 velar， 就是 it's a normal velar sound. But why do we have this ruch in dictionary? Because ruch is actually abstracted from certain forms. Yeah, okay. So we have to distinguish between the, wait a minute. Really noisy outside. Okay, so we have to distinguish between the form in the dictionaries and grammar and the form, the real historical form. Yeah. Okay, so the logic is that for this, there's also an important rule. Wait a minute, I write it here. For verbs, with suffix or infixes or affixes. Wait a minute, I close the window. Yeah, okay. So for verbs with infix and affix, root always in 0 grade. You always use a 0 grade. You cannot use a full grade. Yeah, here. Like this or like this one. I just explained this infix because there's also other. So I explain basically athematic, but for the thematic you can use other forms. Yeah. Okay. So that's why you have to use u here, and that's why the accent is on the na, because only the e grade carries the e how do you say that, the e grade. The e grade carries accent. So I write it here. So e grade carries accent. Okay. So you have the 0 grade. So this is E grade. This is E grade, and then this is a 0 grade, and then this is the infix, right? This is the infix. So you have to put it like this. So wait a minute. So I make it a little bit slower. Okay, I make it a little bit slower. So for this root. This is the E grade. This is also, you find it in the dictionary, right? And for this class, you need to use a 0 grade, right? So this is a 0 grade, right? And then this is the infix. So you put the n inside the root, and then you put an ending, and then you have it, this one. Yeah. Okay, this is actually the most basic root. And then let's explain other forms. Why do we have this no and nu? Because there are some words, like, for example, this one. If we have a root like this one, like, for example, the su word, of course, you know this. You learned from the grammar, right? The su. Yeah. Yeah. So this is a su word, su root, right? Su means to press, right? So su means to press, and you know that this su must be a 0 grade, right? Must be a zero grade, right? So this is a 0 grade. Yeah. Okay. And for this root, always actually the origin is another word with a u at the end. Another root, like how to say that? Let's put it like this. There's some root like this, and then for this root, if you use infix, for this root, if you use the infix, it will have this form, right? And then this will become a no, right? So this will become a no, right? L becomes a O. And then for the weak case, it will have this form, right? Sorry, nu. So this is actually the reason why we have no and nu in Sanskrit. This class, this 5th class, is actually originated from 7th class, but in a specific context. for some specific, there's some special roots ending like this. Yeah, but I don't need to give example, but probably you can find it. Yeah, okay. Like the root for here and something like that. So this is actually originally we have root in this structure, and then for this root you still use the infix, and then you have this no and nu here. Yeah, so this is the logic. And then let's turn to ace class. Probably some of you would probably, so I noticed that a lot of you have chosen ace class because it looks simpler, right? And if I tell you that seventh class is, if I tell you here, if I tell you seventh class is more original, more basic, and you will certainly ask me, here in seventh class, there's a nasal, right? There's a nasal here, N here, but in eighth class, there's nothing. There's no nasal, only O and U. And how can the eighth class be derived from the seventh class? Let's wait a minute and check the eighth class slowly. So let's move back to the grammar and to see the eighth class. Wait a minute. Oh, where is eighth class? I have to. Seventh, right? Seventh, fifth. Where's eighth class, right? Oh, wait a minute. I couldn't find it. Does anyone, wait a minute, I move, I move slowly, seventh, right? This is seventh, right? Ah, okay, eighth class, okay. Okay, so this is eighth class, right? Eighth class. Okay, so let's check the examples in eighth class. Eighth class, die meisten Wurzeln dieser Klasse enden auf N. So this is very interesting information. So eighth class, we have tan, we have man, we have sun. So I think this is enough. I think this really enough, yeah. So what is the characteristic? What is the feature of eighth class? Almost all the eighth class, die meisten Wurzeln, almost all the class, all the roots in eighth class have the N at the end. So let's do it in our according to our previous rules, right? So this is the infix, right? So infix, we have the infix, and then we need to use zero grade, right? Yeah, okay. So what is the zero grade of tan? I write it here. Zero grade of tan, you delete this N, right? Yeah. Yeah, tnan, yeah. And then you put a how to say that? This is a zero grade, and then you put an N, right? Like this. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, I think I should do it like this one. And this eighth class is not directly from the seventh class. It is actually closely related to the fifth class. I already this is the fifth class, right? This is the fifth class, right? So first we have seventh class. This is seventh class, and then so the logic is that first we have seventh class, and then we have fifth class. And based on fifth class, let's take a look. So fifth class is actually kind of we have still we use the zero grade, right? So zero grade is ten, right? And then we use the fifth class. And fifth class, remember, fifth class is no nu, right? Yeah, okay. So we put a no here. We put a no here, and ten, we put a nu here, right? So what is the result of this one? You see there are three consonants, right? There are three consonants. So you cannot have three consonants, right? So it will become a vowel, right? So I'm going to make it like it. So it will become a vowel, and then this vowel what will become this vowel? This will become a, right? Yeah. So similar thing, right? Right? Yeah. Right? Okay. And then if we have this form, take a look. What is the result of this form? This is tan, right? This is tan, right? And then you have all here, you have all here, right? Yeah, this is the origin of the ace class. That's why we have in ace class all and u, and almost all the ace class have an n at the end. So this is the origin. Okay. I hope it's clear, right? Now let's turn back very quickly to the nice class. So nice class is pretty simple. As I mentioned to you, a nice class, we have a verb called 리, right? Kli. Kli means to buy, right? And as I mentioned to you, if you have a long e, it certainly goes back to a laryngeal. But which laryngeal is not important now. You just keep in mind this root should look like this, kli, h, yeah. But this k goes back to another consonant, but it's not important. You can check it in leaf. You can check it in leaf, right? So this is actually the root, and we also have the root in Greek. It's called priato, but it's not important. You just you can just now be satisfied with this one. So this is actually the root, and then this is also the zero grade, right? So this is zero grade. So okay, fine. We need the zero grade, right? So this is zero grade. We need the zero grade, and then we take this zero grade and insert. Take a look. This is the infix. So we put a n here, right? And then we put an in here, right? Yeah. And then take a look. This is right? And it will become a long long r. And this is the h, and it will become an e, but it is lengthened analogically. Yeah, so this is the reason why we have klina here and klini here. So all goes back. So I write it a little bit slower. This is the reason why we have a long r here, and this is sorry. But this e was lengthened. Yeah, e was lengthened. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so this is basically for the explanation of all the present forms, and I'm not sure if I should continue explaining aorist next time. I mean, not today. Today is finished. Today is okay, but probably in the future I will explain the aorist and also the perfect and so on. Okay, so this is let's make a brief summary for today's class. So today is actually only grammar and only linguistics. Okay, so today's class is devoted to the explanation of verbs, and to be specific, the present forms. So first, we make a distinction between thematic and athematic. And semantic, well, today, so semantic means that between the ending and the root, there's a vowel. So this is a semantic vowel. You have a vowel here, either a R or a Ya, and Ya ends with a vowel. So this is important. We have a vowel here, ends with a Ya. Yeah. But you will say, well, wait a minute. Probably you will wonder, well, athematic, you also have a vowel. But the difference is that this vowel has upload, so, or distribution. So this is semantic vowel. This semantic vowel has distribution. Yeah. So this is different. So this is distribution. Yeah. This is distribution. Yeah. Distribution like air and or. Yeah. The exact distribution, you will find it in my previous classes. Yeah. Okay. And then the 10th class, well, I will explain it probably later, not today. Today is already too much, I think, for some of you. Yeah. Okay. So this is semantic class. You have semantic vowels, and the semantic vowel a, ya, and aya, and so on. Yeah. Okay. And the difference between the first class and the sixth class, first class with the R and sixth class also with the R in between. But the difference is, in this difference lies here. The sixth class has the 0 grade here, but the first class usually has a 4 grade here. But there are, of course, some other cases, but this is enough for today for the semantic. And then we move on to the athematic. And for the athematic, the first, so for the athematic, we explained the second class. It is it's also called the root present. It's also the simplest, and you just use root with the ending. So that's enough. But the difficulty or the complication lies in this lies in this root. The root has upload. So root has upload. Okay, and this and how does the upload look like? For the strong forms, it is A grade usually. For the weak form, you have the 0 grade. Okay, and the strong form is this one. The weak form, all the others. Okay, yeah. So this is, and then we talked about how the upload look like. This is 0 grade, this is the E grade, and this is the O grade. And then you can apply this picture to E, and then you can apply it to other resonance. So this is actually resonance, and this is laryngeals. Yeah. And then we move on to the reduplicated class. And reduplicated class actually not all with the reduplication. And actually the reduplication has actually 2 different kinds. One is, there are actually 2 reduplications, right? The first one is with the E, the egg vowel. This is what I explained here, tíṣṭhāti, right? This is tíṣṭhāti. And the second one is reduplicated with the E vowel. This is tíṣṭhati, right? This is tíṣṭhati, right? And this is tíṣṭhāti. These are different because this is air and this is E. Okay. Okay, so this is the difference. But for the time being, you can forget it. You just memorize this one. It's okay. Yeah, it's not. I know it's a little bit complicated. Yeah. Okay. And then we talk about a tip that if you have U or E or R or the E or R and 0, or R and 0, it means that the root always has a laryngeal. Yeah. Okay. And then we explained the 5, 7, 8, and until 9th class. And I mentioned that the most basic one, the origin, is actually 7th class. The 7th class goes back to this one. So this is a nasal. It's a nasal present. Yeah, this is a nasal. This is nasal present. Nasal presence. And this nasal infix has the upload. It's for the strong form, it is a ne, and for the weak form, it's an n. And for the verbs with infix, we usually use we always use a 0 grade. So the 0 grade of yelk is yuk. Okay, and for the yuk, and you apply the infix. So this is infix, you put it between. So you have u negati, and then it turns to u nacti. And you have, and then the weak form, I don't need to put it here, yeah. Okay, and then I explained from 7th class, you can have 5th class, because originally there are some words having such structure, CCV, CCU. There are some roots with such structure. And then you insert a ne inside between this, in between, and then you have a no. And in between you have a nu. So this is actually the origin of the 5th class. And then based on the 5th class, we can have the 8th class, because as mentioned in Stenzler, almost all the 8th class have an N at the end. And have the N at the end, we use a 0 grade. We use the example, the tan. Tan means expand, yeah, right? So we use a 0 grade. The 0 grade of tan is called tun. And then we use a no suffix, and you have this tun no, and this tun no becomes a R between consonants, and then you have a tano, and again you have a tanu. So this is why you have a o class. Okay. So, and then we explained the 9th class. The 9th class is directly from the 7th class. Yeah, the Indo-European ne class, and then you insert the ne here, and with the laryngeal, that's why you have a long R here, and with laryngeal, that's why you have a long E here. Okay, so this is basically for today's grammar, and thank you for your attention until now. And I know it's really complicated and different from the normal Sanskrit grammar you learned, but I hope it will kind of help you find the logic, to find the reason, find the principle behind this. And I apologize that we don't explain any Tocharian grammar, but I will do it next time. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is basically for today, and okay. So enjoy the rest of the day, and have a nice week. Okay. So see you next time. So we have a meeting on Saturday, right? So Saturday will be Saturday will be the Sanskrit class. Well, today is actually Sanskrit class. Yeah. Okay. And okay. Yeah. Okay. So see you next time. Okay. Bye bye.